I started reading about environmental racism, and I would fall asleep at the computer because there was so much information there that I would just, keep reading and keep reading. And there was so much out there. So, but nobody had ever told me. If I had saw on Oprah anything about environment, I would have never trusted. If I'd have heard a story like mine, there's no way that landfill could have been there all my life and me just trust that the government would do the right thing.
So the landfill actually had been there all your life, ever since?
Yeah, the landfill had been there all my life. But they said that it was only household garbage that was being placed there. We didn't know that there was chemicals that would actually leave their property and seep into...
And the only water that was the well water?
Well, the county actually put lines out in the area, and all they had to do was tell us that it was contaminated, and you didn't have a choice. You'd had to get hooked up to to the city water. So if they'd have just told us, they'd have ran the lines to our house, and they could have just preserved our health. The underground wells would have been contaminated, but we didn't have to continue to drink the contaminated water. And that's another side of that is there's 1,400 people that live out in our community that are in potential to be exposed to the chemical because it's out there and they don't know where it might.
Women, children.
Right. And this is majority white people. And the white people have not stood with us because they have drawn the proverbial line in the sand, and you're either standing with the black people who are causing all the uproar about the contaminated water, or you keep your mouth shut and you do nothing. And that's what they've chose. And they don't even have lines. So they're such racists that they would rather drink their contaminated water and not stand with my family and expose their children to this contamination. And they have not showed up at county meetings or anything. They just continue to drink their contaminated water.
But I thought they were warned in some way.
There's others. See, when they dumped it, it was a predominantly black community. Since then, it's a nice area. They moved in, and so now there's other people that are exposed. And back when it first was dumped, they did tell the ones that it did show up.
So it gave them a choice whether y'all drank it.
See, this was 1988, and so now today, when everything hit the fan in 2003, they did find that it had.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask about the time frame of when you discovered this.
In 2003 is when we started to get sick, and we started connecting the dots, and that's when we found that, they tested, they said, well, this whole area within about they really don't know. They said this stuff can move a mile a year, and it could be 40 miles in any direction. It could be to Nashville, it can be to Waverly, Clarksville. It could be in any direction. They don't know where it's at, but they know that it travels about a mile a year, and it could show up. So now white people are in the danger zone, and they did find it, but they told them, and they refuse still to this day. Now, there is one family, this family, it's a white family, they had moved in from Colorado, I think, and they purchased this property. It had a spring running through it. And they thought, oh, wow, this water tastes so good. We're going to bottle this. So they call up a bottle company, and they had I don't know how many millions it was that they had guaranteed them to pump so many gallons out of that spring, and everything was, they were in Florida celebrating when they saw us, well, they had just left, they saw us on TV and said, well, we're only a mile from the contamination. We better, just on the safe side, we'll have it tested. And they were in Florida when they got the call that it was contaminated. So they also have a lawsuit because that ruined their business deal.
So are they kind of standing with you?
They were, and I think they realized that it wasn't the politically correct thing to do, to stand with the black people. And they tried, since they were out of state, they tried to get the white families organized and to them to stand so it wouldn't be a black or white thing.
Right.
And they wouldn't do it. And the lady really she almost had a nervous breakdown because she said she just couldn't believe the mentality of the town, that nobody would, they just was going to take it. They would rather, be racist than to stand and get
die because
exactly expose their children to the contamination, rather than go to the city and make them put lines down so that they can get clean water. They wouldn't do. They have not done it to this day. And what they have gotten, the governor gave them I think it's called an imminent danger. They gave them a $100,000 grant to come in and lay down the lines, but they only got that because we were making so much noise about it, even though we already had been hooked up. Damage had been done with my family. We were already sick, and
so Sheila, through this show and like you said, others, what would you like to get out to the people concerning this, and any contact information if anybody wants to help you?
One thing I would like is for people to be aware that if you live next to a factory or live next to a landfill or any other source that you think there may be pollution or that may be endangering you, that take it into your own, to look into it. Don't rely on, especially the government or anybody else to tell you. Just do your own research.
I'm sorry,
I
so
can be
interesting. We're running out of time, but I mean, I'm just enthralled by what. Okay. But how can somebody reach?
What I'd like to say is that what this family wants is some compensation for all their medical expenses that they've had to incur over this period of time. There should be some compensation for these hundreds of acres that they can no longer use, okay? So at a very minimum, that, and truly the state and federal government need to step up to the plate in terms of remedying some of this. In addition, this thing has got to move through the courts, and the states and others should be supporting